Hello, it's Phil here at IMS College in Malta with Eli and Fur, two of the hottest names in DJing right now and in music production right now. You know, these girls are on it, and they've just done some awesome training in the seminar room here, and we just thought we'd grab them for 5 minutes to talk through kind of how they got to where they got to now. Because we know a lot of you we're watching in awe at artists like these girls rising up and wondering how did they do it, and you know, your story was lovely. You've just been talking in there about it. You were friends, you were clubbers, you loved the music.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden you managed to twist it into something far more, you know, lucrative and hopefully long lasting. So maybe you could start by telling us how that changed, when it changed and what happened and what changed it, what made you go from the dance floor to the studio and then, you know, behind the decks.
I think we were just, we DJ'd at a friend's house party once, and we just thought it was really fun, and we genuinely were like, can we try and make this work?
Yeah.
And obviously we were really inspired at the time by DJs we were seeing play, and we were going out there.
So this is in London?
In London, yeah. We lived together.
And who were the DJs who were inspiring
you?
You?
In there actually to put that real turning point.
Yeah, Kink and Neville Watson. We saw them do a live set on Ableton at Basing House, and it was just mind blowing. Like we both just really felt inspired by that.
Yeah, that was really cool.
Yeah, we just wanted to do that basically, and
there were so many nights, kind of that sort of deep house sound that we were going to, that we just got kind of really involved in that music, and we started DJing before we started producing that kind of music.
So you're straight out of school at this point? No full-time work? No.
I mean,
no, you did.
I was at uni, but I dropped out. I wasn't liking it.
I was at the company that we both ended up working for at that time, but I was just making tea, and it really did start at the bottom.
It was short-lived kind of career before the music took hold.
Right, exactly. But then we started working for this company that we were at, and we sort of started songwriting, but we were DJing on the side. So we did have a day job, but it happened that the day job helped us out in the sense that we had access to equipment that we wouldn't.
So your day job was in music?
Our day job was in music.
Okay, so this is something that we tell our audience a lot. If you're going to get work, try and get it something.
And you know what, and I am a great advocate of that. Do anything, because I went in there and just did. I wasn't even doing music-y stuff, but to be in that environment and consider how many people that you meet and how much you can learn just by sticking around after hours and snooping around.
So it's two early lessons. Get work related to what you want to do, which in this case is anything in music, and hang around after hours. You know, do anything. Show a bit more willing.
Yeah, 100%.
So what happens next? So you're DJing for fun, your friends, you're on the dance floor, you know, you've managed to, at this point where you've got a job in a music related, what was the company?
The company, it was actually a pop songwriting, they call it a pop factory. It's called Xenomania.
Okay, it's like Motown or the big Italian house.
Exactly, although it wasn't, but you know, obviously changes then. I wish it had been Motown, but it was sort of acts like Girls Aloud, or if anyone, only in the UK you seem to know.
It's very pop.
Yeah, very pop, but it was still really fun, and we were DJing on the side.
We do that during the day, and then we'd in the evenings just work on our own music.
Yeah, but a lot of what we did and how we got gigs at the beginning was we bought a book, which I really need to find the name of this book, and it had a list, you can get it online, it had a list of every single London promoter, and we just emailed, every day we'd go through a few pages and say, hey, we're DJs, and this was quite early on, so we probably threw ourselves in the deep end a little bit, because I remember going out and playing a couple of gigs and just being like, what the hell are we doing? But that was a great experience because the pressure sometimes is because you could do it at home and everything's fine, and you go out there and it's not really, it's a great way of trying things.
Would you say, and this is a loaded question because we teach this all the time, that you learn 10 times the amount playing one gig than you would spending all that time in your bedroom?
Definitely. Yeah, you need a crowd and you need to see reaction, and it changes.
We probably weren't even having, we probably didn't have crowds then,
but especially when you're starting, you're playing at really bad clubs, there might not be anyone there might be two people, if one person likes it, you get something from that, and then you change it, and that's the best way
I think
to
our
learn.
first paid gig was at a place called Bar House in Chelmsford, which is it's actually not a tiny, it's quite a good live venue, but at the top they have this tiny little bar. There was probably about 4 people in the room, and they were dancing, and we finished the gig, and we went down into our car, and we got into the car, and we were like, oh my god. Because even if you're making one person dance at the beginning, that is such a high, and that gives you that, right, okay, this is what I did. And it doesn't even matter, it doesn't have to be.
I recall countless gigs like that. Did the bar staff enjoy it? Yes. Well, it was a winner then.
Exactly, right? So, and that's what gives you more confidence and helps, you know.
Okay, so we're building up to kind of the pivot when it stops being fun, stops being a sideline, and starts being something you're taking seriously as a career. What if you can pinpoint a single thing that happened? What happened to make that, switch?
I mean, we were definitely doing it on the side for a long time before we got an agent.
And how long would you say this? Give us some time spans.
I think we had an agent for 2 years. Yeah, and then we didn't actually have the manager for a really long time either.
Yeah. But, I'd say the moment when we were like, it was still going well, but when we got William Morse, which was really amazing for a first agency, and I think that was a lot of luck, and actually weirdly the connections from the music company that we were in.
Okay.
We were able to get in and show ourselves to those people because we'd been in the company so long. We had a boss who believed in our other projects, and he'd been helping us through that time, so we really put the work in for them to then give us that opportunity. So
one question we get asked an awful lot by our audience is, do I need an agent? How do I get an agent? And the old answer to that question was, they're going to come looking for you when you are popular. And that's kind of changing a little bit, isn't it? It's people. You don't need to have the record deal to have the agent anymore, because we've heard a lot of mention of story this today. That you need an authentic story behind you, and you just told us yours quite clearly. You're building up to this. What advice could you offer to anyone who's DJing away, playing small gigs, and thinking, if only I could get an agent, life might be different? Is that the right way to think, or should they be approaching agents, or should they just be doing their own thing and waiting to see what happens?
I think it really depends on the person. Like for us, we definitely did a lot of it ourselves and started to understand how it worked as an agent, and then that's when we started to look for someone when we knew what we kind of needed. I mean, it's hard to be pushing and trying to get these gigs and things like that, but
because people think an agent's going to fix everything for them.
It doesn't always work that way. You have to definitely find the right person, and I mean, it could be anyone. It could be someone who's starting out, who's really enthusiastic about you and has a few connections and can get you something, and that could lead to something else. It could be anyone.
I think that
it's not necessarily I need this big agent who's going to come and change my life. Do you know what I mean?
Yes.
It really depends.
So the DIY bit, the finding it out for yourself, the research, the hard work, kind of has to happen in order for you to know what you're doing, and at that point it's more likely that you'll find the right person, or they'll find you.
Yeah, exactly.
Tell me about making music and getting your first music out there. How did that happen? What were you putting stuff on YouTube with a video hanging out your car window, or were how did the first tracks that you made start to get noticed or start to get an audience?
The first EP we just put out on our own label, just because we didn't really know where it would fit or whatever. We were just sort of going with what we'd done, and lucky for us it ended up on Hype Machine, and then obviously lots of other blogs picked it up, and that for us had a big impact. That led to other things, and we didn't actually release on a label till for a bit longer.
I think maybe
a year after that.
Your first label was Defective, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And then you're on Anjuna Deep now, which is a fantastic label for the sound that you've got. How did that deal come about? How did that happen?
It was quite weird to us, because I think they just
heard our music.
They did hear our music. It was one of those fluke things where the music was out there, and they actually contacted us to ask if we had anything that was unsigned. And at the time we were like, oh, wow, because there are. I mean, these labels. Dom, who signed the music, he's a young guy. He spends a lot of hard work, and he works really hard to find new music. And there are people like that at these labels, who are looking for it. So if you can get as much exposure as you can, and you can do all that online, and it just means, if people are connecting with it, and if you keep putting the stuff out there, eventually hopefully, you know, if you really believe in it, someone will connect with that track and it'll maybe find its way. But obviously you should send stuff out as well. That's another thing.
So when you say send stuff out, you just literally make a list of all the labels that you like, the music you dance to, music you bought, and start finding the right person to send it to.
Yeah, 100%. And mixes as well.
How important are mixes? How important have mixtapes and mixes and stuff been to you? Because there's conflicting opinions on this. Some people say they're useless. You know, you've got to put records out there, you've got to get to know people.
I think for getting gigs and starting out, they're really important just because it shows what you're capable of.
Like a business card? Or
Kind of, yeah, in a way. And then, like, obviously some DJs, you know, they've done a mixtape every week, which is amazing. I mean, it's hard, but like that's what's got them big because people are waiting for that mixtape. They're relying on that, finding new music, things like that. So
I think, especially if you're a new DJ starting out, for us a mix was important because there were promoters. If a promoter's going to take a risk on you and doesn't really know that much about you, it's nice for them to see
to have
what
an
you can
idea
do and what you will play and if it's what they want. So, and then when you go there, you know that they've heard the sort of style. So you know, and also that's important for an agent as well to know where to place you. And so I don't think that they're useless. I think there's definitely, you know, a place for them in some ways.
So come on, let's paint a picture. I'm sure you've inspired the audience a lot already, but you know, what's life like for you nowadays? Where are you playing in the world? How often? You know, how's it going? Does it feel good? Are you where you want to be? Give us an idea of how the last 6 months has been.
I mean, yeah, the travelling aspect of it has been amazing.
And where have you been to?
We're very busy. Well, we've been. I mean, where's the last place we've been?
Barcelona.
We've been in Barcelona before, and we were in Italy the weekend before that, and then tomorrow we actually leave in 15 minutes, and tomorrow we're going back to the UK, and then we go to Toronto tomorrow, and we have a month tour of the US and Canada.
Fantastic.
So that's going to be.
Have you flown on a private jet yet?
No.
Have you got off a private jet and wonder where you are yet? While we're talking to him, Steve, let's get some real stars in. Well, look, thanks very much. It's been inspiring to hear your story, and hopefully we'll talk again in the years to come, and you will have been on that private jet. But I think you're doing pretty well so far.
Cool.
So, Eli and Fur, thank you very much for chatting to us, and we'll catch you again soon.
Cool.
Cheers.
Thanks so much.